Lesson 6, Fresh Water. Please take your science notebook and take a few seconds to write what you know about fresh water, any facts that you already know. Here are some facts that you will find in your lesson. 3% of the water on Earth is fresh water, so very small amount of fresh water. Fresh water is the only drinking water, and it is essential to all living organisms. We have to have that to live. Freshwater includes streams, rivers, ponds, lakes. So there are some facts. You may have some to add. So rivers is one example of freshwater, and we have some facts listed here on the slide about rivers. The first showing that rivers are flowing, moving streams of water. We have a couple pictures or examples of rivers here on the right. Rivers feed into the ocean or a lake or a pond, so they usually feed into some bigger body of water. They can vary in size. Water can come from rain, melting snow, lakes, ponds, or glaciers. So the water from the gathered in the river come from one of these things. Rivers usually begin at high elevations, for example, on a hilltop or a mountain. And the mouth of a river is where the river flows into a lake or body of water. So take a minute and think, what are some of the world's largest rivers? Can you think of some really large rivers that you know around the world? A few that are classified as the largest rivers is the Nile River. It's the longest river in the world. The river runs 4,132 miles from Egypt to Tanzania in Africa. Another river that is really large is the Amazon River. It is the longest river in South America. This river flows over 4,000 miles from Brazil to Peru. Another example of freshwater are lakes and ponds. Lakes and ponds form in a variety of ways. There are man-made ponds and lakes, or sometimes we will see a flooded area that will uh, gather lots of water from the flood, and it will create a pond or a lake. Rivers can flow, the mouth, we talked about the mouth of the river flowing into these bigger areas of water. Also glaciers, as they melt, can create these big bodies of water. At the bottom of a lake or a pond, you're going to have mud or organic matter. And the shores are important in these lakes and ponds because this is where many living things will live. And the plants that you find on the shore will filter any pollutants running into the body of water. So the moss, the seaweed, those things that are those plants, sometimes you'll see shrubs or even trees at the shoreline, and those are very important to the body of water. A pond is generally less than 5 acres in size. So it's a smaller body of water than the lake. The lake is going to be larger. If you look at the bottom picture over here on the right, this is the Great Lakes. They are the largest source of fresh water on the earth. They hold 20% of the fresh water in the world. So you see Lake Superior, Michigan, Huron, Erie, and Ontario. So there are 5 Great Lakes. Another example of fresh water is estuaries. This is an area where the fresh water from a river flows into an ocean or a bay. So there's a picture or an example of an estuary there. They're affected by waves, tides, and salt content of the ocean. So this is where fresh water is meeting salt water, because we know in the ocean we have that saltiness. They're also affected by the sediment that displaces from a flowing river. And the mix of the salt water and the fresh water provide a really unique habitat for life to thrive. So there are a special group of organisms that live in this area because of the mix of the salt water and the fresh water. New York and Seattle are located on an estuary. Wetlands are very important in the freshwater world. Wetlands can include swamps, marshes, bogs, and they form alongside a river, a lake, or an estuary. They go through wet and dry cycles, and organisms that live in these wetlands must be adaptable. Wetlands are important because they filter water or they filter groundwater, and they kind of act as a sponge that holds that rainwater to prevent flooding. So many of the wetlands are protected because they are vital for a healthy ecosystem. And more than 1/3 of the threatened and endangered species in the U.S. are found in these wetlands. All right, so we have come to the end of lesson 3.06. Please make sure to complete this lesson in your science course. Make sure that you're checking your email, your announcements, and your grade book, and that all your work is complete.